Welcome back, everyone, to the KDL Preseason 1. 8 racers entered today for the solo match finals, and we are now down to the last 2. My name is William Cho, joined by State, and we've got NEAL from Live Sandbox and Cool from the Guangdong Freaks to go into a best-of-5 ace match.
Yeah, this should be a fantastic match. Cool looking really strong in those last couple of tracks, but NEAL just winning, it feels like almost everything, at least half of the maps. It felt like he was picking up the match win. And, you know, this is going to be a cool preview as well of the team match finals that's taking place tomorrow between Guangdong Freaks and Live Sandbox.
I mean, yeah, just imagine. We're getting ahead of ourselves, but if imagine, like, tomorrow goes to another ace match and it's these two players again. Yeah. They have to face each other again. But obviously, that's all tomorrow. Today, while they do, of course, have their team banners behind them, it is about their individual careers. And while it is still only the preseason 1, right, we're not going to leave any records here before the official season. But it's still a good taste of, all right, who really is at the top currently? Who's leading the pack for Kart Rider Drift?
Yeah, you know, coming into preseason 1, our production team interviewed a lot of the players and asked them, you know, their thoughts on the game, their thoughts on other players, how they were stacking up, who improved the most. And a lot of people said that Cool has improved the most as a speed racer from Kart Rider League 2 KDL. He was already great. And, you know, he's proving it true today. It's going to be him versus NEAL here in the ace match, a best-of-5. Winner takes all. I'm so excited, Trobra.
Yeah, I mean, listen, these two players, these two racers, they've shown us so many great moments, both in team and solos, and NEAL definitely looks a lot more relaxed. I think he's just feeling that he's in his element since the beginning today, right? We kicked things off with him taking first place 4 tracks in a row at the beginning of the final 8. He was able to continue that track selection for a long time, eventually closing it out at the maximum 89 points. He just had to cross 80 to end the round of 8. And now, sitting here facing his challenger, Cool, in the ace match. Cool needed a bit of a warm-up, and looks like we're getting ready for track number 1. It's a best-of-5 NEAL selection as we get ready to crown our potential first winner at the KDL. It's Mind Winding Slopes.
And here we go, round 1 of this best-of-5 ace match between NEAL and Cool. The winner will be the KDL Preseason 1 champion. We're getting so close to the end here, Trobra, and NEAL already off to a tremendous start.
Yeah, and we already saw Cool just trying to pressure him on those early turns, because here's the thing. I mean, this is one of those difficult, tight tracks where if you keep the lead, it's going to be real tough for your opponents to overtake you unless you kind of try to force a collision or pressure you into that position. And NEAL is starting to run away with this. Of course, distance-wise, there is still a possibility. But here's the other thing. NEAL and Live Sandbox players have always enjoyed this track. Meanwhile, Cool and Guangdong Freaks, they've tried to avoid it if they can in team matches as well.
Yeah, so a little bit of metagaming here by NEAL. Not only is it a track that he has the solo speed record on, but also one that, you know, a little bit less comfortable here for Cool. So NEAL, he's off to a great start. As we're getting closer and closer to the end here, this tight turn will be really hard for Cool to pass. He just has to buy his time, continue to draft, close the distance, and coming in this hairpin turn, NEAL taking it really tight, not giving Cool any space, but Cool there with the inner line, able to pass him. NEAL gonna see if he can change hands.
Ooh, both of them just slowing down, not wanting to get wiped out entirely, but Cool continued to stay ahead of the boost gauge. That's what allowed him to take the lead here right in the last section of the hairpins. And Cool's gonna cross the finish line first as well.
An unexpected result there, man, coming down the stretch. I was thinking that NEAL had it, but Cool with some nice collisions and excellent boost timing, able to really get the most momentum possible to win track number 1. And keep in mind, I mean, NEAL, he got first place. He was the first racer to 80 points. That was his track selection. That was his choice. It was not only a track that he has the record on, but metagaming Cool and the Freaks a little bit. And you know, now it is loser's choice here in the best-of-5 ace match. Cool winning track number 1. NEAL will be able to choose the next track. And I'm sorry, what were you pointing out there?
Cool had 7 drafts in that race. I mean, he had so many times just to catch up and overtake him, and yet he was constantly managing. So basically, he was able to use his drafts to save his boost gauge so that he had more entering into that hairpin. Now looking at a couple other players who did get knocked out from that final 8 ding there, trying to hide his face from the camera, and it looked like HyunSu as well. But Now, NEAL, what is going to be the next pick? The loser gets to pick the track.
Yeah, I mean, keep in mind that NEAL has the track record on the majority of the tracks here in solo speed. So there's a lot of different options for him, a lot of things that are comfortable. We'll see what the choice is going to be. It's actually going to be Village Boom Hill Tunnel coming through as the pick here for NEAL. Let's see if he can tie this one up 1-1. NEAL versus Cool here in the best of 5 grand finals.
And we're off. NEAL now on the back foot behind 0-1, decides to just go for the left side so he can also manage his boost gauge, as both players right now, of course, in that opening section of this track, just making sure that they don't fall behind in building up their gauge here.
Yeah, just a little bit of a role reversal from the previous track. Right now it's Cool who has just a hair of an edge here on NEAL, so maybe NEAL can kind of employ a similar tactic to what Cool did last time, and actually hold that thought as he just wants to fight right now. I was thinking maybe he'll sit back, he'll try to just use those drafts and save his boost gauge a little bit.
Yeah,
to do what Cool did previously to get the win, but NEAL is a fighter, man. He wants to be at first place. Going for that big collision.
I like it. The hard stops against him and then using that to boost back forward. And he's just constantly making sure that, Cool, even if you're ahead in boost, I will stop to block you. That's why he enters there. Can he overtake him? No, but right on the bridge, NEAL, does he show us that build again? No, he's just going to play it safe this time.
Yeah, I don't think he had quite the speed that he needed to actually execute that turn, and so now it's once again NEAL trailing Cool as we come into these turns. And
Oh, no, NEAL!
NEAL with a big mistake there is going to have to make up a lot of ground now on Cool with not a lot of track left to go, Trevor. We'll see if he's able to do it right now. Cool basically in time trial mode, and NEAL's going to boost as best he can, but with 200 meters left to go, there's no chance. And now Cool on match point here against NEAL, going up 2-0, 1 track win away from being the KDL Preseason 1 solo speed champion.
I mean, what a change of fates here. When we entered with the final 8 at the beginning of the night, NEAL just looked unstoppable, and people were saying, even just within the Korean community as well, just saying, okay, looks like NEAL, when he's popping off, no one can stop him, right? When he's boosted forward, there's just nothing that can get in his way. But Cool says, oh, just wait until I'm warmed up. I'm just getting started.
It's been his entire MO this whole preseason. Every single solo match, he starts off slow and then he gets hot. And it was him getting a lot of podium finishes, a lot of top 4s, top 5s, even track wins to secure his place here against NEAL in the first place. And it seems like that break did not slow him down at all, man. He's still playing as best as we've seen from him, and now just 1 track win away.
Oh boy, this track selection is going to have to be crucial here. Now that was a track, I mean, both because of the clever build that NEAL has, and NEAL, I mean, even choosing to play aggressive on those tighter turns in the later half of the track to try to get ahead and use the stops against Cool, and Cool not fazed by it at all, is able to maintain the lead. Of course, NEAL, I mean, the big thing came down to those 90-degree turns. He runs into the corner, but now we're going to go to round 3. Another attempt here from NEAL to try to catch up as we enter Desert Ancient Aqueducts.
Here we go, track 3, Desert Ancient Aqueducts. It is do or die time now for NEAL on match point. Cool, 1 track win away from being your KDL Preseason 1 solo speed champion. NEAL off to a great start with some fantastic tight lines through these opening stages here on Aqueducts.
Yeah, I mean, with the aggressive cuts there right off the bat, both of them trying to build up their gauge. Now, Cool has been looking a lot better at just really sneaking in these slice drifts, you know, the shorter versions of those cuts to try to keep up in boost gauge, and now just making sure that he's able to maintain his speed at the top of the hill here. NEAL just trying to play catch up.
Yep, NEAL able to squeak into first place right now as we near the end of lap number 1. And, you know, Cool though, he's been very comfortable in these positions throughout this entire best of 5 where, you know, he's just out of drafting range from NEAL, and then he just waits for his time to strike. He waits for NEAL to give him some kind of opening to actually pass him closer and closer to the finish line. And I mean, even there, he's holding on to these nitros. He's playing them very conservatively. He's not gunning to pass NEAL right this second. He's waiting for a pivotal moment where he can clutch out the win.
Yeah, and right now, just looking at the boost gauges, NEAL using everything he has to try to stay ahead. But look at this, Cool is constantly getting in like 1 or 2 extra slices on these straightaways. And he tries to bump NEAL, but NEAL, good recovery and defense off the wall, and Cool misses that opportunity, but he's not out of it just yet.
That was an excellent body block there by NEAL, and NEAL right now holding on to the Nitro a little bit ahead of Nitro Gauge. So Cool's really gonna have to draft, close the distance right now, and boost as best he can. He was able to pass NEAL previously on turns such as this on other tracks. Will he be able to do it again? We're getting close to the finish line now, Trogra.
Oh, Cool's timed it so well. The draft cooldown should be coming into play here as they enter the last section of the map. Here it comes. He boosts off of him, but NEAL blocks him right out, and now they enter the straightaway. Both of them still with the boost gauge. If NEAL doesn't hit a wall, Cool doesn't. No, he gets one more draft right as they enter the final 90-degree turns.
Wow, what a moment here for Cool as he is going to sweep the best of 5 ace match 3-0, and you can really tell that he calmed his nerves after track number 1, as he will be your KDL Preseason 1 champion. Cool representing the Guangdong Freaks. The victor here against Live Sandbox's NEAL.
Oh my God, an incredible race. I mean, I thought he was out after he wasn't able to get that draft to overtake on the straightaway, but he just keeps, stays calm and collected, understands that the cooldown's gonna come back after the straightaway through the water, and they're going to still be up against each other, uses it to overtake NEAL in the final 90 degrees, and NEAL, despite the explosive start, runs out of gas in the best of 5 ace match.
Yeah, and it feels like Cool just kind of played NEAL's strategy against him there. NEAL loves to be the aggressor. He loves to be out in front.
I love Cool just joking, of course, preseason 1, so not a big trophy for him just yet to lift it up here.
Oh, I love it. The brief look of confusion, and like, this is my trophy, my fist is my trophy.
Well, he just rips it out of the stage on that cardboard.
But going back to the point that I was making earlier, I mean, I love that play from Cool, just letting NEAL sit comfortably in first place throughout most of these tracks. I mean, if you were to compare the time spent in first place in track 1, track 2, track 3, I guarantee you, NEAL's ahead of Cool the majority of the time. Every single track. So. And Cool, he just played conservatively. He made it so NEAL had to exert all this effort, all this boost to stay ahead of Cool, who was drafting behind him. And then Cool, just every single track, he waits until the right moment to get that final draft in, that final boost in, and then pass NEAL. And I thought, again, in track number 3, I thought that he was out of it. I thought that NEAL with the body blocking was going to be able to force a track number 4, but Cool just played it so smart, so safe.
Yeah, I mean, really what happens there at the end, right, as you enter the 9 degrees, maybe we'll get a replay in the highlight package, maybe at the end of the show as well, but NEAL, I believe, slows down to, avoid the collision. We called that out on the cast as well, but that means that he was trying to rely on stopping against Cool, right, drawing out that body block, and Cool just says, thank you for the draft. And just skirts right around him. But the level of focus that Cool has shown, and I think that's the story of Preseason 1 solo matches, is that, yes, you have the explosiveness of players like NEAL, like InSoo, even HyunSu this time, of course, coming in as the first seed, but it's really who's able to be that consistent, right, and just really focus on your final opportunities. It's going to be Cool, and that's also the reason that the entire team of Guangdong Freaks was staying as, the ranked number 1 in the team matches.
Yeah, they're conservative, they're smart, they play things as best they possibly can, and they work really well off each other. And I think we're going to get a look at the match results here from today.
I mean, it was a long one today, so let's take a look. Of course, we started with the final 8, and that's how the final, grand finals work for solo matches here, continuing in the Kartrider Drift League. At that point, NEAL, I mean, look at that finish, 89 points, the possible maximum you can get to get over that 80-point cutoff line. And Cool kind of barely catching up with 62. He was in trouble of getting knocked down by InSoo, depending on the finishes of the final track.
Yeah, he had a very slow start today. That's happened to him multiple times here over the KDL preseason, specifically in solo match. But, once he catches fire, he does not let up.
No, not at all.
Despite a 27-point differential between NEAL and Cool from first and second place, which, again, that's almost 3 track wins. It's absolutely absurd. Cool just played it so smart there in the 1v1 solo match. I mean, I love to see it. And, for InSoo and Live Sandbox, this isn't the end of the story as we quickly take a look at this 3-0 sweep there by Cool. I mean, InSoo, a little bit of a heartbreaking moment for him in 3rd place, but, at least there is tomorrow. The last
Sure.
dance with Liv Sandbox will continue before he and Seunghan go to military service.
Yeah, so there's still more of the KDL Preseason 1 tomorrow, just kind of letting everyone know at home for that. But for today's story, I mean, sure, if you were kind of hyped up because we went all the way down to, I think it was like round 14 and the round of 8, right, to start out the finals today, and things looked like it could go anyone's way. Cool, again, barely eking into the final 2. Potentially, it might have been InSoo and NEAL today. But then he suddenly just says, all right, I've been warmed up, right? And the switch is on, and he takes the victory swiftly. And it looks like we're going to have an awards ceremony up on stage here shortly to celebrate the final finishes of our racers. But again, yeah, you look at the score and say maybe it was anticlimactic, but you look at the fashion that Cool did it in, and it's just pure art and how focused he was. And I guess the pros were right. He really has been honing his skills coming over to Kart Rider Drift.
He's improved so much coming into KDL. Winning Preseason 1. I mean, the future is very bright right now for Cool as well as the Guangdong Freaks as they look to add on to his solo match victory with a team match victory tomorrow. And now the runner-up, NEAL, coming to collect his 2nd place prize. It was a tremendous tournament for him in solos, winning almost half of all the tracks that he played in. I mean, he's going to be feeling a little bit sad about getting 2nd place, but really this was a tremendous performance. And I think he's going to come back next season and tighten up his play a little bit. If he can, oh, NEAL, we love you.
He's also just built up so much confidence on stage, obviously working on his Korean as well. And here's the thing, yes, it escapes him today in terms of, kind of getting that title of the first, global racer to get a 1st place finish here in the solo matches, but there are more opportunities. And if anything, hey, the consolation for NEAL is it's just a preseason, right?
Yeah.
This is where you're supposed to learn more about your opponents, about the meta currently in Kart Rider Drift, continue to research and hone your skills. And today he was outclassed by the eventual winner, but I'm sure NEAL will continue to steal a lot of people's hearts here in Kart Rider Drift.
He's already stolen mine. Just very likable guy. Absolutely love to see him, man. Coming out now is our Season 1 KDL Preseason 1 champion. Guangdong Freaks is Cool. Just a tremendous race. Come from behind finish there in the 8-player stage of the matches today. And now the champion with a 3-0 sweep against NEAL.
Yeah, incredible career for this guy. We mentioned it earlier. He had 5 championships in the Kart Rider League. The first to do it after the Emperor Hojun reigned for so long. And then he comes into Kart Rider Drift League. He's been getting praised by his teammates and opponents. And he's now able to get another title under his belt here for preseason. Curious to see if he's able to keep that up once the official seasons go through. But ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the solo matches today. That's it for myself, William Cho, and State here in Preseason 1. But of course, KDL not done just yet. We will be coming back tomorrow with the team match finals between Liv Sandbox and the Guangdong Freaks. We'll see you tomorrow.